Hello, friends of the Gene Keys. I'm very happy to be here before you again, doing another update. And if you caught my last transmission, was a while ago, a month or two ago, where I shared about the decline, the birth, decline, growth, and then the decline of the Gene Keys, and then the rebirth, the possible rebirth. I was shared for the first time about the inside, a bit more of the inside of our business, of how we operate, and some of the difficulties we encountered last year, particularly around the dropping of our sales and people not being so interested seemingly in long-form content, and the oversaturation of the sort of new age market, and us having to hold firm to our values. And I spoke about that, and I've spoken about how I made the decision to stay with our values and commit to doing the biggest ever retreat next year, the Sage's Golden Path Retreat. And it was a risk for us, because we don't know whether our business will kind of be able to weather the transition. Next year we're developing an app. I'll talk about that later, but there's a lot of our investments going into that, and we weren't sure whether our business would manage it actually, and be able to pay the team and the family that I've grown. We've grown the Gene Keys together, and our community, serving all of you. Anyway, that was where we were. We're now in a different place, because since we launched the Sage's Golden Path Retreat, which is the 3 retreats that I'm doing in 2026, online retreats that are kind of purpose, and then partnership and love, the Venus sequence, and then prosperity, the Pearl. These are our Golden Path core teachings. And since we launched that, not knowing, and I remember saying to my team, well, we don't know. It's like people, if they really don't want long form content and depth, we're going to find out soon enough. And we might have just had a few sign-ups, 500 of you or something, wouldn't have done it for us, wouldn't have paid us enough to kind of make the transition into our next stage. But amazingly, you have spoken, and thousands of you have signed up, and I am so, so grateful. I know that everyone in Gene Keys' team, we call it Team 64, are so grateful for just like what a burst of hope that has given all of us. And it should give you as well. Like, there are a lot of people out there who are really looking for true depth, and are not afraid of long-term commitments, because that's what we offer in our Golden Path retreats. And it's not short-term stuff. This is like, you dig in. The first retreat is 4 months, and then there's a month off, and then it starts in January, and then you, if you want to join the second retreat, so you can buy all 3 separately, or you can buy the whole lot. That's 6 months. That's the love one. That's the deepest one, and going into the emotional trauma patterns, releasing them, and then coming into the deeper field of love. And then finally, next year, there's the first 4 months of next year would be the Pearl, which is prosperity, collective prosperity. And so many of you have signed up for the whole thing. And some of you even, a lot of you we did this amazing offer, which I thought was really like a moment of genius that if we don't mind saying that, I had. Well, it may not have been me. It was probably some other member of my team. And so I can't claim it. It was like, if you pay the full price, we'll give you the first retreat for free to gift to a friend. And loads of you bought that. It's called our syntropy tier. And I'm, again, so grateful that obviously not everyone can afford that, but those who could or stretched, your generosity is incredible, and you get to gift that to someone. And I think that's an incredible thing. I hope that you consider, if anyone else is doing that, or you'll consider maybe gifting it to a younger person, because out there, what we really need is, those generations who are kind of up and coming. They need, more than anything, we need them to adopt this level of depth through the Gene Keys. And they've not grown up with it. They've grown up with the short hack kind of culture of everything's quick and everything's, like in a weekend, or everything's in, 3 steps, or, Whereas Gene Keys is like long contemplative journeys, deep probing insights that go right into the heartland of your life. And so, yeah, anyway, if you're still out there and thinking, or you can think of someone in their 20s perhaps, or early 30s, or even in their late teens, who seems to have that indigo spark, that magic and openness, but they can't afford this. This is an incredible gift to give them. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. So I wanted to say a few more things about what this means, for us. It means that Gene Keys has the potential to make the quantum leap that we've been designing, really. And designing is a key word because, one of my sutras from my sage, I can't remember which one it is, but there's 384 of them. This is my new book coming out next year. It says, in business, don't design your business for success. Design it to meet your needs. I mean, so many people make that mistake in business, right? You build a business, it goes on growing, and then it sucks all the life out of you. And you just get hooked into this kind of hamster wheel of feeding the beast, right? And so if you design it in the first place just to meet your needs, you have to figure out what your needs are and the needs of the people in your team, if you have a team. So we came together, me and my team, at least a couple of years ago, if not more, at a business kind of session together. And the fundamental question that I asked for the group, and I think we had a week or almost a week together, and we've had several of these, but the fundamental question about the business is, how do we want this to end? Right? Very, very few businesses ask that question because they're all focused on profit growth, So very few of them ask, how do you want this to end? And it's such a profound question because you have to really look into the reason why you're in the business or the business exists. And so it's not like you're going to have an instant answer, but it's a very, very profound journey going into that question. You could apply it to other things in life as well, actually. It's like your life. How do you want this to end? And so we made a decision right there and then. We didn't want to grow the team, right? So we didn't want the team to grow any bigger much than it already is. So 40, 50 people max with, some employees, some contractors. We're based in the UK. And so that's really an important thing because we want to keep that intimacy and that family energy. But we're happy for the brand to grow and the success of the Gene Keys to grow, but we don't want it to kind of take over. And we will never allow that to happen. And that means that's changed everything in our business because it means the way that we're designing things is so that we don't, we're not under full stretch. Now, a lot of the time we are or have been at full stretch because we are a small team. We keep our prices very low, which means we sell very close to the wind in terms of the costs we have and the profit we make. However, you guys, all of you signing up for the Sage's Golden Path retreats, whether you've taken just one or the whole lot, or you're paying in installments, which is like a new thing we're offering this year, it's so goddamn helpful. It's freed us, it's released us so that we can kind of make this transition. And the other thing that I thought I'd share with you, which is something that every member of our business is aware of, is a few years back, when we were planning, in the design of where we want this to go, the Gene Keys, how we want to expand them, we decided that, our online retreats have always been like our real bread and butter and the online programs and courses. But that was, it was almost like pre-pandemic, and then the pandemic came and then everything was on the rise. And then many other people caught up with us because we were ahead of the curve. We've always, I think, Gene Keys a little bit ahead of the curve. And I'm going to tell you what the next ahead of the curve is. And part of designing your business to meet your needs is actually ahead of the curve because it means you scale down. Your business can succeed, but you don't let it kind of collapse your life, right? And you stay really true to your values. But what we decided is we needed a kind of magic bullet, right? We needed something that would lift the business and the Gene Keys out to more people more quickly, that would free us so that we could complete the transmissions that we're here to do, perhaps quicker, because everything, when you do it organically, as we've had no funding other than personal funding I've put into the Gene Keys down the years. We deliberately didn't want external funding because it can be sticky. And so we've grown organically, which means we've grown kind of slowly in a way, and you've had to wait a long time. If you've been around a long time, you had to wait a long time, for instance, for the Star Pearl to arrive last year, and the Dream Arc and other things. But this helps speed us up. And AI also is part of that story, although we're trying to take a very balanced view of AI because, it has good and bad points. Anyway, that's a wormhole I'm not going to go down right now. But suffice it to say that we're thinking very deeply about how we use it and the ethical concerns. So how's it going to end? And so we decided we needed this magic bullet. We worked out that it was going to be an app, a Gene Keys app. And so for a good, maybe even 7 years, we've been dreaming of this app and designing it in our minds and waiting for the time to come where finally we might be able to do it. And that time has arrived. And so the investment that we got from last year from you guys, many of you investing in the Star Pearl program, has helped us work with real professional developers, no format, based out of New York, incredible team at a very professional level. And we've been working, we get on really well with them, and they're part of the history of the Gene Keys app as well, which was in an earlier form called Akasha. And anyway, so we are kind of designing this incredible tool that will be coming out in 2026 in its first version. And the idea behind that is the image I gave to my team is it's like when let's say you want to get you want to get to Mars, you want to get a spaceship to Mars, right? It's a long way. How do you do that? How do you build on enough speed? And like you see in the movies, like you have a slingshot. So you head for a planet or a moon, and then all you actually have to do is build up enough velocity and trajectory correct to get around the moon, and then the magnetic field of the moon does the work, and then you accelerate, and you keep on accelerating because of that magnetic force that then pushes you to Mars, right? And that's how you get to Mars. So you have to have a slingshot, right? So we decided the app would be our slingshot to get to our bigger dreams. And our biggest dreams are we want the whole Gene Keys system. I'm being very transparent here. This is a sort of secret I'm revealing. We want the whole of the Gene Keys world eventually to be available as a subscription for sort of $10, $15 a month. I mean, don't quote me on the figures down the road, but like that is the goal. And it's a huge goal, and it takes a lot of resources to get there, but we're heading on that way. And the app is going to help us do that. Because then we could, people don't have to pay big prices. It can scale, and it's accessible to everyone. These incredible teaching, years worth. It's like the Netflix of spiritual systems, And so that's where we're on. And you're committing to the Sage's Golden Paths next year, the retreats, is definitely a huge rung on that ladder for us, because it allows us to finish our investment with the app, launch it properly next year, which will come out, and then build from there towards our bigger goals. And there are other goals as well, like, which I won't go into now, like, far-flung goal I've had, which is a home for the Gene Keys one day, a place, an actual location where we can meet and gather and do long-form workshops together, retreats, like weeks and even months for some people, going really deep. Contemplations and tea ceremonies and all the things we love, and to actually be together. That's a goal, right? But, that's putting that aside. We're really in good shape now. And so I just wanted to express that gratitude that you have helped us get to a place where the Gene Keys can make this quantum leap. And our central principle of the keys, of the Gene Keys, has always been like syntropy, synarchy, synthesis. Synthesis is the teachings themselves. Synarchy is the self-organizing, intelligent community that comes to the teachings and has a destiny and a dharma with the teachings and will take them out in its own organic way. And then syntropy is the kind of business model or the giving model at the heart of all natural systems. And so the body is syntropic, the sun is syntropic. It's the opposite of entropy. Entropy is a perceived, leakage of energy, and that the physicists believe is the basis of the universe, that the universe always moves into complexity from order to chaos, which seems like kind of crazy. But, Newton was he was behind that one, and it is perceived, but it's perceived, right? So syntropy is not fully perhaps been understood yet, but by science, but I reckon that'll come along one of these days. Anyway, so for us, syntropy is about philanthropy. It's about like the superabundance that we hope we will achieve is always going back into the system. And the first place it goes is our team, because our team is a magical team. We're devoted to each other. We're a family. And that's the first place that I would always want to gift, in, because that's the second one would be our community. And like, how do we offer, that's why the dream is to make the teachings hugely affordable. That's syntropy as well, because we're not sort of going for the greed model where we want more, more, more. We actually want less, 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 but wider. And then we, over the years, we've also devoted a lot of our money also to, some part of our money to like other things that we've been doing quietly, like the refugee things and other projects that we've been involved in. And we'd like to really grow that part of the business a lot more. So thanks for helping that dream come a bit closer. So the other thing I wanted to say out of all this is that there's going to be some changes coming down the airwaves of the Gene Keys, and it might start to feel a little bit different. And I wanted to kind of give you a heads up about that. So the app, for example, which here at Gene Keys we're all incredibly excited by, has so many incredible features. I mean, you've never seen it. You will never have seen an app like this. The Sage Oracle is built into it with my sutras and ways of contemplating them. The pausing app is designed and built into it so that, and the Golden Path, a shorter, kind of sweeter, easier to access journey with your profile is also, built in so that in your pausing moments, the app will surface up your Gene Keys for you to contemplate specifically where you are in your journey and things like that. And there's going to be something called the event horizon, which is a kind of, I guess it's a little bit similar to some of the astrology apps, but it's not, because it works on, the 64-fold structure. But it's like certain key moments that will be appearing almost like moments of grace throughout the year that you can track and mark. And you can also look at like those moments, and you could plan things in those moments. Like, this is a great time to start something. This is a great time not to start something. Those kind of practical measuring of the event horizon of consciousness, of the cycles of the planets and the spheres. And so we're going to design and build something really cool. We're already doing that, which is going to be fun, I think, for all of us to look at. Seasonal cycles and things through the Gene Keys and the pulse, the daily pulse, the weekly pulse, the monthly pulse. So that's really exciting. And then the relationship chemistry stuff that we're building in as well is very grabby. It's really interesting. But it leads deep. Everything in the app leads deep. It leads onto a deeper journey. It's not just an app that gives you like a flash, like, oh, here's a nice little tidbit for you today. It's actually like, no, this tidbit is part of a much deeper journey that is personalized to you through your profile. And so you go on an individualized journey into the app, but it's long. It's a long journey, like everything in Gene Keys. It's like this isn't something you just pick up and put down. This is like a journey you're on for years, because there's layer upon layer upon layer And obviously we're building the living library into that, which is really exciting. We get all the library of everything, Gene Keys, will be behind the screen, the wizard screen in the app eventually, so that the app can go deep into all the different resources that we've created down the years and bring them up for you, but in specific ways because they relate to you. So all of that is exciting, very, very exciting. And it's really slick as well, which is, part of, and there's going to be new design feeling coming, and we're building a new website to match the app in some ways. So we'll be updating our website. So expect changes in many areas. And I just want to reassure you that whatever the changes look like, and there might be some early mistakes and things, we haven't sold out. We're still a small team, and we're still steering a very clear course to this very syntropic goal of making the teachings more available, cheaper, more affordable, to more people. And that's our real goal, not to grow and become a big behemoth monster that sucks all our energy and life and we all become billionaires. That's just not where it's at. And it's contemplation, right? And so this is a big year, really, the next year for me, especially. I've got things happening. I've finished my Sage book. That's going to be worked on, coming out later in the year. The Dream Art deck, which many of you have been waiting for ages, is a huge project. It's this massive thing. I've been finalizing that, and that's going to come out sometime 2026. That's all the animal totems of the Gene Keys and like this really cool set that goes along with the Dream Art course, if you haven't looked into that. It's fun. It's a mystical part of the Gene Keys. Codon rings I'm doing ongoing, which are these more advanced, in a way, parts of the Gene Keys that have to do with how groupings of keys create families and how they program the whole of human consciousness. So it's not profiles, it's not individual profiles, it's like how groups are interconnected in magical, mystical ways, karmic ways, actually. It's the machinery of karma. So that's coming out. And my book on contemplation, which some of you may have read, is being republished by Hay House. And that's really exciting. So that's going to go. So Gene Keys is going to be going out in new areas and new ways, new styling, new language. And I just want to give you a heads up that it's incredibly exciting. And there will be changes, and we'll be changing our business as well. We'll be, I'm moving further out of the business itself. So there will be structural changes in the business. We don't know what they are yet, but it may affect the way in which we operate. So you may sense that or feel that as well. But it's all part of the quantum leap. And I just want to really, thank you and invite you, if you haven't signed up for the Sage's Golden Retreat, really, this is a golden advantage, a opportunity not to be missed. We've got myself, there's so many of us involved, our group of incredible hosts. We've got Elijah doing his Decoding the Profile series, absolutely epic. This man is a master of the profile. And more than I am, actually, and it's good sometimes to admit these things, and so if you really want to understand the profile and how to read your profile and decode your profile and understand profiles, that series running throughout the retreat is going to be around Elijah. You might be doing a public one as well, which would be cool. Tamayo, the other mainstay pillar of the three of us, we're a trinity. Tamayo is going to be offering the opposite end of the spectrum, like the feminine. Tamayo is a deep, wise, mad, spiritual, mystic Scottish woman, if you have never met her. She's one of the wisest owls you'll ever meet, And she is offering she calls it, one of the things is like how to handle the unknown. And she calls it the burden basket, which is people will be able to actually drop their shadows into a basket live. So it's about actually owning fears and speaking them and sharing them so that they can be released. And when we do that, it changes our brain chemistry. It changes our our emotional. It allows us to see and experience the shadow. Even if you witness someone doing that, which is an incredibly powerful moment, because it's such a vulnerable, beautiful, powerful thing to do. And so you just drop them into the basket, and then the basket transforms them, because the transformation is the releasing of these fear patterns. And I think next year there will be increased fear patterns on our planet. So it's going to be a very healing place for people to come and feel like a big cushion, an emotional cushion for the community, where you can rest your head on a pillow of Tamayo's lap, and the lap of our community, and the love field. I mean, you can't, love is the source of the universe, and the deep feminine really holds that, beautifully. So, and I'll be doing my Corpus Christi teachings, which are kind of new to many of you, and they're a mystic framework that hold the rest of the gene keys, and that also hold, I would say, all spiritual teachings and even scientific teachings and views. All the different spokes of the wheel of humanity fit into this wider framework. So it's quite a mystical and cosmological frame. I'm going to be sharing it as we go through the retreats over the year, and they're going to be layer upon layer of it, that I think you'll begin to really get a sense of. This is the framework behind and underneath the gene keys, because you see the surface, but underneath there's this cosmology that's incredibly deep, that's very ancient, that's synthesized from many different disciplines, the old ancient cultures. So it will show you where Buddhist thought fits. It will show you where Vedic thought fits. It will show you where Sufi fits, and Christianity. It will show you where systems theory fits. It shows you where, all these different, simulation theory and physics and cosmology. It shows you materialistic views. It shows you all the different views in one place. And it shows you how and where they cut and how they relate to subtle bodies and dimensional fields. I'll make it as simple as I possibly can, because I don't want to overwhelm people as they go on the Golden Path journey. But I wanted you to have this deeper spiritual, it's not only spiritual, it's like inclusive framework, so that you understand why does contemplation work? What is an epiphany? It's a breakthrough of the higher centers. It's a breakthrough of the higher dimensions into our emotions and into our lives. And if we haven't done our shadow work, and you have one of those, that's like high voltage energy hitting a shadow pattern that hasn't been resolved. And that's an uncomfortable thing. And that can feel hard to process. And this is all part of getting ready for the future human. And the future human is actually it's actually hiding inside the current human. It's not something out there. It's inside us. So we have to do this shadow work, which is why we go deep in these teachings. And, it's about meaning. Gene keys are about bringing meaning to your life, and depth. This is about depth and meaning and magic and embodiment, somatic embodiment of higher truths in the physical cells of the body, right? So if that sounds like you like it, I'm going to tell you a lot more about it at my tea party. So the last time I publicly appear this year is on December the 17th, my Sages Tea Party, where I'll share more about what I'll be bringing into these retreats. But anyway, I've said enough. I hope this update was interesting to you, and perhaps, somewhere in something I said, it fired a spark in you of, I hope so. Anyway, I wish you a wonderful December, wherever you are in the world, and any blessings. Thanks for listening.